Hey everybody, if you are coming to this video before watching any of my others, hi, my name is Gemma Milburn. I'm a vocal coach based in the UK, working online with singers all over the world, and I found out almost a year ago that I was tongue-tied. If you have watched some of my other videos already, you will already know that, so please bear with me. It's now June 2024, so I found out July 2023, 1st of July 2023, so almost a year ago. I was tongue-tied after singing for my whole life, being hugely passionate about singing, coaching others, but always feeling like there was something not quite right with my own voice. So I've been filming and uploading these videos much less than I said I was going to. And the reason for that, if you have watched some of the other ones, is that I ended up being feeling like a much more personal journey than I expected. There was a lot that I just kind of wanted to bide my time before I put into words, which I don't think I expected. I think I thought I was going to kind of enjoy analysing each step, and I didn't want to do that actually. I was thinking about it internally and wanting to wait, particularly when it came to decisions I made about who to work with and what course of action to take, because I don't know, it ended up feeling much more personal than I expected to. So that I don't even know when the last video I uploaded was, but I had my tongue tie release April 26th this year, 2024. Okay, so what's that, almost 2 months ago? A bit less than that. And yeah, it's been really, really cool. So I guess now that I'm still doing myofunctional therapy, I've still got a couple of months left of that, I think. I'm meeting with a myofunctional therapist less frequently now, but I'm still doing exercises twice a day. They're even more important after the tongue tie, well, not more, but just as important after the release, because the tongue's healing and you've got to keep it working and moving whilst it's healing, massaging and all of that stuff. So now I feel like I can give you a few more of my thoughts and experiences. Before I get into that, this has been so fun and so interesting, and it's really helping me with the singers that I work with hugely. I first of all understand the tongue much better. It's so important in singing. I understand it on a whole different level. I understand breathing so much better now. I understand the body, fascia, all of that. It's been so beneficial, not just for my own singing, and mapping of my own body, which has been cool, but in understanding the body and other people's bodies and the singing body too. So it has been hugely rewarding, and I'm going to be making it more of a specialism and bringing out stuff that will help other people. So if you want to know more about that at this point in time, get in touch. I'll put links and stuff in the comments a little bit underneath. So I don't know if I've shared this at any point. I opted to work with Emily Kokodi, who is Breathe First Speech and Myofunctional Therapy based in Manchester in the UK. It's been awesome. She's very passionate about this field. She's been a speech and language therapist for 20 years or more, and a myofunctional therapist in more recent times, and she gets it. She's great at working with singers. So if you are looking to explore that yourself, I'll add a link below, and if I don't, Google her. It's been fantastic. The myofunctional therapy was hugely beneficial on its own, and I'm still doing it, so I don't have this was the conclusion of it, but on its own, my singing improved and many elements of my health and my life improved. My tongue, I could see it looked visibly different and it moved differently. I could open my jaw better, all sorts, sleeping better. I've probably said all this before. super cool. Definitely recommend Emily. And then I had my tongue tie release. I travelled to Ghent in Belgium, and I had my release with dentist Charlotte Van Bell in Ghent, in Respire Dental Clinic. I don't know if she's a doctor or not, so I know that many of the dentists go by doctor something, but I looked it up and it doesn't say, I think it's dentist Charlotte Van Bell. And it was a hugely positive experience, so fun as well. Like, I found the whole thing really interesting, completely painless. If any of you are scared about that side of things, the actual procedure is painless, and they numb you up well. I could talk immediately afterwards. I could talk during, you know, obviously not while they were doing the thing. If they spoke to me in between, I could talk during. I also had an upper lip tie released, which I was kind of aware of, but I didn't know whether it was causing me any problems or not, but I had that released. And I had a buccal tie on the bottom released too. My immediate reactions on the day when I stood up, when the release was done, I just felt my tongue like float up to the roof of my mouth and just go like it was meant to be there, and it was. That was really cool, and I have to say I felt slightly dazed for a couple of days, but in a really nice way. Sort of like, you know, when you're so chilled out, like so relaxed. That's how it felt. And that's been something that has really stayed with me, is now that my tongue rests on the roof of my mouth, like most of the time, it's a really comforting feeling. So if you're someone that hasn't had that your whole life, like, if you ever get to experience that, it's lovely. It feels such a weird thing to say, but it's soothing. And it's sort of made me understand why, I don't know, is that why babies like suck dummies and stuff? No, it's not, it's a different thing. But it feels great, and I know that if I'm ever feeling stressed or anything like that, I just really want to shut my mouth and put my tongue up on the roof of my mouth, and it feels so good. So it's kind of worth it for that alone, which is not something, I couldn't even conceive of the fact the tongue was supposed to rest on the roof of the mouth when I first started this journey. And now it's one of my favorite things about it. It's very cool. So that was the first thing I noticed. Later that evening, by the way, Ghent's a really amazing city as well. So I got to have a little trip to Ghent. And if you are considering it, go. It's awesome. I had a great time. Walking around Ghent that evening after the anaesthetic had worn off, I was really aware, like, of my lip seal. And I never had any trouble with that I knew of. It wasn't something that had come up much in Mayo. We had done exercises around that, but they hadn't felt challenging for me. But I immediately felt this sort of force keeping my lips together, if you know what I mean? Like they were kind of like actively resting on each other. And I haven't analysed this much, but I kept thinking about Zippy. If you're British and you know who I mean by Zippy, like a puppet, and he has like a mouth that goes all the way around his face, but the zip is not, I don't think it's ever actually zipped up, but I had this sensation of my mouth going all the way around my face and just sitting together really nicely, and it felt really relaxing. That's not something that I thought much about before, but it felt great. So if nothing else, again, all these things that kind of subtly contribute to your well-being, like, it wasn't something that kind of I had linked, it's not necessarily linked to singing directly, but it was cool and I loved it. And they were the first things that I noticed. Then the next day, I had this feeling of like almost being like naked here. Like my neck felt like I'd been wearing a scarf and it was suddenly gone. And I just felt like this sort of, almost like I wanted to like put a scarf back on. I was like, oh, I've forgotten my thing, you know, but it felt good at the same time. And I could move my head like so much easier. That felt very cool. And always had pain here. and I just have to say that's gone completely now. It kind of went during the myo, but I had twinges of it here and there, but I can quite clearly say that since I had the tongue tie release, that pain has gone, and that was a pain that I'd had for like 15-20 years, so that is very, very cool and a very nice result from that. And then I didn't feel like singing straight away because my tongue hurt a little bit. It doesn't hurt loads. I was told to take like paracetamol whenever I need, as and when, and I didn't really need it. So it was just a little tender for like eating and speaking. So I've had a sensation of having a bit of a sore throat too, which I thought was interesting because it obviously wasn't my throat, it was my tongue, but my perception of what it was I'd linked that to throat pain. So I kind of think maybe throughout my life where I've thought I had a sore throat, perhaps it was tongue tension to some degree. Sort of interesting there. Yeah, so I didn't really feel like singing, but I did dabble in some lip trills and some sirens, and my initial feeling was like I'd never felt so easy in my life, and I wasn't someone who thought that they were hard, so it wasn't like, oh, I've never been able to do this thing and now I can. It was this thing that I thought was meant to be that way is suddenly different, and I didn't know what I didn't know. I had no idea that I was working harder than everybody else basically all the time. I think my perception of easy was, well, not wrong, but skewed by this part of my anatomy that was not as mobile as it should have been. And that easiness has stayed. So that is super cool. I have less of a feeling of like tugging and tightness here. If I do any kind of, it just goes up there easy. I haven't quite caught up with that. So even now when I was doing that, something in my brain was going, oh, it's about to get hard, it's about to get hard. And it didn't. So there's that element of things as well. So there's things that are very clearly better. In fact, I've written them down because I didn't want to miss any of them. So there's that less tugging, that kind of getting into my upper register is easier. I never thought getting into my upper register was hard because I do like singing high, but it's easier, much easier now, to the extent that I go, I need to figure out what my whole map of what it's supposed to be like is. I have a much more natural and easy vibrato. Vibrato is something I've always struggled with, and as soon as I start singing now, there's a sense of more vibrato, more vibration, a more free voice, and it is really, really apparent, which makes me so happy. Part of the myofunctional therapy was Buteyko breathing, and I've now started training in the Buteyko breathing method because I've loved it so much and found it so helpful for me and for singers. That, before I even had the release, made me feel more stable actually in my lower register of my singing voice, and that has remained. I imagine that's going to, for some people, translate to better vocal fold closure. We'll see. And then there are some things that haven't immediately changed. So if you're a singer thinking of going through this might help. I had to try really hard not to be disappointed that I wasn't suddenly like Whitney Houston, greatest singer of all time. Things that my body and my brain, like the biomechanics of my body have changed, definitely. And the tongue has such a far-reaching impact, and the jaw and the whole body, right? So I've been a certain way for 38 years, and then now it's changed. So there are things that my brain is going to need time to catch up with, and my body's going to need time to catch up with. And there are also things that I expect I'm still going to have to learn how to do. So I'm not just going to immediately be able to do them, but it's going to be more possible now than it would have been before, because I don't have this thing that is causing my body to compensate in a lot of different ways. So I'm like, I don't know if you can, I'm happy, I'm really happy. It, you know, it isn't like all of a sudden, ta-da, but it is in some respects, but in others it does mean I'm gonna have to remap, relearn, but that's only because they are things that I want to figure out how to do. If I didn't want to particularly change or improve my voice in any way, then like freedom, easiness, vibrato, that's enough, you know. Less breathlessness, that would be enough. But because of who I am and the fact I'm a bit of a perfectionist, this has just opened me up to being able to be like, yeah, I can start working on those things now. So I'm pretty pleased about that too. If you are a singer and you believe that you're tongue-tied or know that you're tongue-tied, my recommendations would be, I'm a little bit out of breath, sorry, I'm really excited. Get my breath back. Either, you don't have to do anything about it if you don't want to. I think that if in some ways, for me, knowing that I was tongue-tied and finding out, that helped me to really be nicer to myself and approach my singing with the knowledge, a bit of self-knowledge about my instrument and about things that might limit me. And for many people that will be enough. So you don't have to do anything about it if you don't want to. It's helpful if you are working with a coach that they know and kind of understand that and are able to adapt, because for me there were lots of things that I think people were like, why can't you do that? And I was like, I don't know. And it wasn't I wasn't trying or that I was stupid. My body was not biomechanically set up for that. So the knowledge is helpful. If you suspect it, get a diagnosis. The second thing I'd recommend would be myofunctional therapy was a huge part of the process. Like, obviously I don't recommend the surgery without it, and I think most people won't perform the surgery without it, but myofunctional therapy on its own, very, very useful thing to do. And then if you need the surgery, the release, or are a suitable candidate for it, then yeah, go for it. It's been a really positive thing for me, like I said. And I'm only like 2 months out, so there's a lot more for me to learn about it, but it's been cool. I'm very, very pleased that I went through all of this and with all the things I've learned. If you've watched these videos and there's things that I haven't covered, or if you have questions, please will you comment them, or you could even email me, gemma@gemmamilburn.com. My name's the name of my channel, and I can make sure that I make some resources or upload a video answering your specific questions, or you could just email me and we can have a chat. But yeah, it's been cool. I'm happy. I have got more to do, like I haven't finished Myo yet. It's 2 months. It's been hard, you know, like it is a commitment. The process is a commitment. I've been doing tongue exercises 2 to 3 times a day since January. It hasn't been easy. They're not hard exercises, but they're a commitment. You have to keep doing them. So that's why the process of the release, it might not be for everyone. And of Myo, like you might decide that you're quite happy just knowing that you're tongue-tied. My hair's annoying me. But if you're kind of curious, then you should definitely give it a try, because it's, from what I can see, just hugely positive. There's been no downsides whatsoever. Yay. So that's all from me for now. I might come back sometime and update things. But thank you for watching.